Hey, and welcome to India Over 50, everyone. This is an interview today with Juan Carlos Hernandez. Now, Juan is an amazing India Over 50 artist. You're going to learn all about his music, some of his background, and what's driven his passion, and how he's applying a whole set of new skills, including AI, into creating amazing music that I think is inspiring for all of us. So, with that, let me welcome Juan Carlos Hernandez.
Honey, it breaks my heart every time I hear you cry.
Thank you so much, sir. I really do appreciate the invite. Again, I never thought I'd be up at this hour talking to somebody from a faraway land, but thank you for the invitation.
Well, I'm in a faraway land, but whereabouts are you in the world?
I live in Stanford, Virginia. I'm about 40 miles south of Washington, D.C. in the United States.
With the question that I ask for people, just to basically, a short introduction to who you are. If someone said, "Who's Juan?" Tell us about yourself.
I'm a retired old operations manager from the transportation industry. I retired about 2 years ago. Took an early retirement, and what I've been doing for the last 2.5 years has just been trying to learn the music industry, um, composing, engineering, promotion, all those little crazy things that drive musicians crazy and they don't want to get involved with. That's what I've pretty much been doing.
Well, I love that. I'm sure we'll dive deep into it. I've also got another question that always challenges us as over
Mm.
50 artists: is who is your favorite artist from the 21st century?
That's kind of a tough question because I like Ed Sheeran. I know he's very commercial. John Mayer,
Yeah.
that's great stuff. But you know, there's a lot of cool indie guys out there right now. There's a great songwriter that he's a young guy. His name is Jesse Wells. I caught him on YouTube. He's probably one of the greatest songwriters I've ever listened to. Uh,
Really?
he's a young kid, probably late 20s, just out there with a guitar, in the old Bob Dylan style. You got to look him up sometime. Not a great vocalist, but his lyrics and his songwriting, best.
Terrific. Well, that's a great introduction. And what we'll do is any bands or artists or songs we
Mm-hmm.
talk about, I can make sure that we've got those links in
Oh,
our
mhm,
description from our
mhm,
chat today.
okay.
Uh, can you tell me about your first musical purchase?
That would probably have to be an LP. I guess that's all we had back then. Uh, Yesterday and Today. I think it was Yesterday and Today by the Beatles.
Uh,
Again, yeah. So it's again that was in my I mean my early teens. So they had been broken up for a while, but it was the Beatles. I think that was it.
the other thing I wanted to ask you about is I know that right now you're focused on your music, and we'll share with the audience some of your amazing work along the journey here today. Tell us about your music journey, though, from your younger years. Tell us how that took shape.
Yeah, I started to play guitar when I've always wanted to learn. I've always wanted to play the guitar ever since I was a little kid, and I started back in junior high school. Just playing around, and then by the time you get to high school, you learn to play the guitar because you want to pick up girls. Uh, but uh, but it's always been a passion. It's always been a passion of mine. Uh, I gave it up for about 10 years shortly after my daughter was born. And then I picked it up again 10 years later and been playing for the last 20 years. I haven't put it down since then. But just like anything else, life gets in your way, and you got to be a father, you got to be a provider, you got to do this, and now it's my time. Now it's my time.
I love that. With your picking up the guitar early, did you ever have lessons, or did you just pick it up and try to play along with what was happening on TV?
I'm pretty much a self-taught person on everything that I've done, computers, music. Um, I wish I would have taken lessons. I really do. I think that it's limited me to as far as my melodies and things like that that I can do. Because again, I'm not a naturally talented musician. I work hard at it. Sometimes I just don't get it.
During this period where, as you say, real life intersperses, so
Mhm.
you've got, raising children, raising a family, a job and career to hold down. How did the music take form? Were you in bands or was it just strumming late at night?
Well, I've never been in a band. I've been on stage a handful of times on open mic here and everything else. No, I just
Sorry,
have
can I
been.
just hear that again? Did I just hear that you say you've been on stage 4 times?
Yeah, something like that. I've spent a great deal. Well, let me back up a little bit. Let me back up a little bit. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober now for uh, 13 years. Um, I lost everything. Um, the only thing I didn't lose was my family and friends. Uh, but I rebuilt every bit of it. And a lot of it was because I buried myself in my music. I pretty much spent from 2013 to present just playing music. That was my therapy. That was my therapy.
Mm.
Um, so I've spent the last 20 years rehearsing. It's time for me to get out and play, and that's one of my things I plan to do in the fall. Plan to do some gigging, which I've never done. With the encouragement of my wife and my daughter, they both say, "Hey, you can do this." So that's my immediate plans. So yeah, I've only been on stage 3 or 4 times.
Well, first of all, congratulations on dealing with a real life challenge and rising above it. Thanks for sharing that music has been part of your journey of healing and improvement. And I agree. The reason I was genuinely shocked by the fact that you've only had a small number of performances is one of the features of yourself on your channel is your live performance in
Oh,
your bedroom, in your studio, whatever
mhm,
you've set up there.
mhm.
And it's really, really fine and powerful. So I think you'll do really, really well with those opportunities to perform. And the encouragement's been well placed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One of the very first things I did when I retired was I started a company. And I started a company. It's called Old Guy Music and Production. I've always wanted to be the owner of my own business. I've always wanted to call myself CEO. So I started my own business. I did that for, liability purposes and, for tax purposes. And I wanted to be a legitimate label is what I wanted it to be. It started more as a as kind of like a fun project. But as I started digging into it, I realized, hey, this viable here. So I started to learn. I started to learn how to release a record. I learned how to work with a producer. I've learned how to promote something. And that's just all been because of my experiences in the past working in operations as being management in transportation industry, which I came from, gave me that insight on business. So my my company, Old Guy Music, fills that void of what I was doing before I retired. Because I'll be honest with you, retirement is not easy because if you don't have a plan or you don't have something to do, you'll go insane. Um, I had a plan and it's falling into place. But there are times when I just like I'm bored. I got to do something. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what it is. I'm trying to build a label for nothing. My Old Guy Music in production, and I have the means to produce anybody that I want to. And the truth is, it's not that expensive. It's just
So,
it's time intensive, but it's not expensive.
so with Old Guy Music, you're the CEO. Are you the biggest client, or do you have other clients that you help with production or songwriting or other
It's just
services?
it's just me right now. It's just me right now. And again, it's if I'm going to destroy something, if I'm going to break something, I want to make sure it's mine. I'm not going to break somebody else's stuff. And again, I'm not that at that level of confidence to say, "Hey, let me help you." I can give advice. I can give some good advice, I think, through my own uh, failures and successes over the last couple of years trying to do this mess. But uh, life is full of trials and errors, and if you don't try them, you'll never know. And it can be expensive sometimes, and it can be time consuming. That's one of the reasons why I do my blog. I've spent, I'm 64 years old. I've spent 50 years working. I've learned a few things in life. Unlike a young kid that has all the hopes and dreams of becoming a great star, and by God, he probably has talent if he has the will, but there, this is a nasty business. There's some bad people out there, and there's also a lot of people that take advantage of you. I've fallen into a couple of scams, but I'm smart enough to say, hey, wait a minute. But everything I do on my day-to-day basis, I log it into AI. I log everything. If I get a review, I log it into AI. If I decide that I'm going to run a campaign, let's say on Spotify or wherever, I log in all that information. So at the end of the day or at the end of the week, it comprises all that. And I'll just say, hey, give me a quick summary. And I'll summarize everything I've done. And it's not like I'm going back researching through pieces of paper and,
No.
back of receipts like I normally do things. Um, it's a great tool. It's a great tool.
It's fascinating to hear you talk about AI because it's one of the great challenges we have as songwriters and musicians. And in fact, we've tried to tackle it on the Indie Over 50
Yeah.
channel, the Black Widow of AI. But I
Right.
hear what you're doing is you're using it for outside of music to help you make you more productive.
Think of it this way. Go through your TikToks or your Reels or whatever it is, and the algorithm's already picked up what you like. You like, and you're going to see how many advertisements you're going to have with people going to get you Spotify views, going to get you 1,000 views here. We'll promote this, we'll promote that. You know, that's all they're doing is they're using AI to gather your information. They just dump it in there. But why not use it yourself? Make your own. Don't share your information with anybody else. You can get AI, and I can have AI right now is my publicist is what I use AI for. It's my analyst to analyze the algorithms, to analyze um, my distribution, my pay, and everything else. I have a whopping $264 in my account from streaming, which I'm very proud of.
Congratulations.
It's when I made my first $10 was the high point because at that point on DistroKid I can withdraw it. Until then you can't withdraw it because it's not enough money. But it keep and the only reason why I bring that up, that's just a way to keep track. That's the only reason why I do it. I mean, I'm not chasing dollars. I'm not chasing fame. I'm trying to get heard. I'm in discovery mode right now. Right now, the most important thing is to get my music out there, have somebody listen to it. And I right now I have 135,000 streams, I think. And to me, those mean a lot to me because that means that's 135,000 people I never knew
Yeah.
that can say, "Hey, I've heard him before." And then that's all I want to do is, at my age, maybe that's why I get up so early in the morning because I don't want to miss the opportunity to get something out of me. I don't want to die with a song in it, and I don't. And that's the reason why I do it. I have, like I said, I've been rehearsing for 20 years. I have a catalog of right now 13 songs or 12 songs that I've distributed through DistroKid over the last that's year and a half. I still got another 20 that are still out there that I want to produce, but I can't produce them too quickly, and the cost and everything else. So that's where I'm at.
There's plenty more where that came from, you're
I hope
saying.
so. Yeah, I hope
And
so.
and with that, with the AI, you're talking more ChatGPT or a variety of different
Yeah, no,
tools?
just Chat GPT. Again, it's a publicist right now in this day and age will cost you about $2,000 a month, maybe even more.
Mm.
I pay $19 a month for my publicist and my personal assistant. Um, I've played around with this. AI, write me a song. You don't want AI to write you a song. You don't want it to produce it. You don't want to do anything else because it sucks. You can tell. It starts with a melody. It starts with a thought. It starts with a feeling, and AI can't do that. All it does is X's and O's, ones and zeros. That's all it knows. Even for it to analyze your music, it can't do that. It can't feel it because it's all zeros and ones. It's binary. They can search. They can search the internet and copy and give you ideas that way, but you can see through that. So I know a lot of purists out there saying, "Oh, AI, AI." At our age, especially over 50, do you have any idea what we can do now? Now that we're older, we're wiser. I really don't even sit behind it and type it. I dictate.
Really?
I wake up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and I will just sit there and I will ramble for 15, 20 minutes. Whatever thoughts in my head, I'll ramble directly into it. And then I'll ask AI, summarize. And it completely deciphers my chaos in my writing and makes it so I can, hey, well, yeah, that's right. So that's what I use it for.
That's
Um,
fascinating.
and,
And when you
and
say I can hear from a personal assistant point of view by capturing your thoughts and then and taking in the data, from a PR point of view, is it posting for you or just gives you the material that you then post
you
on
see,
Instagram?
this is my humor into AI. AI doesn't have thumbs, so it can't do anything. It can't press a button. It can't manually strum that guitar. It
Mm.
can't place that ad for you. I guess you could do it, but again, it takes a person to do that. Um, it just keeps track of everything for me. Um, I have a very chaotic mind. I think 20,000 things at one time. It just keeps me organized. Um, and and what that does is in that 20 minutes that I've spent with AI going through anything from my thoughts of promotion to rebranding and whatever it is, that 20 minutes or whatever it is, he'll decipher that in about 10 seconds. I've spent 20 minutes rambling. He does it in 10 seconds. And guess what? My day is done. My day is done.
That's
Now I can go back and play my guitar. I can record. I can engineer. Because as an independent artist or as a label, I'm the publicist, I'm the engineer, I'm the accountant, I'm everything. And once everything is divided up, what's left over for music? Not much. So yeah, I'm proud of. When I started my blog, that was the very first thing I mentioned on my very first. I use AI, and it's not, but it's the same thing with AI. I have to give it the information.
Mhm.
I can't just say, "Hey, pull up something out of the internet," because that would be so wrong. Um, but everything that I do, I mean, I cut and paste articles or whatever responses or everything. I dump it all in there. And
No, that's fascinating. I think that it's going to be so helpful for so many viewers of this interview and people who are indie over 50,
Mhm.
understanding and perhaps inspiring them or helping provide them confidence in engaging around these tool sets now?
I mean, think about yourself. Think about where we would be right now if we had this technology 10 years ago. Not, and now that we're older, it makes it harder for us to sit there and concentrate on typing something or doing something. We have thoughts, we have memories, we have a lot of stored things in our heads. Get it out there. And again, I just dictate to it, and then it makes sense of it. And it's not cheating. It's not cheating. It's just smart business. It
Mm,
is smart business. I'm not going to pay somebody 2,000 or $5,000 a month to do what I can do in 5 minutes.
mm,
And I couldn't pay a person enough money to put in the time that I put into my own projects.
yeah.
Because my thing's a 24-hour thing. I'm sleeping. I'm thinking crap. I don't know if it's healthy or not, but I do it, and it just helps me.
You talked earlier about you've put out about a dozen releases and you've got a backlog as well.
Mhm.
Are all these songs that you've written, were they written 40 years ago and you're releasing them now, or are you still writing? Where are you at in that
Um,
one?
the Some of them were written during that period of time when I was at the beginning of my recovery. Most ones, a few of them I've just recently written. Like I wasn't thinking. I just recently wrote that one. That's from my past. Most of my songs are something I've dug deep in down inside of somewhere. It's part of me.
Please tell
Uh,
me about that one, because I Wasn't Thinking is probably the first song that I engaged with. And for a while, it led our playlist for easy listening.
oh, cool,
It's a beautiful song that I often share, and it's also on our YouTube original playlist as well.
cool. I didn't know that. Okay. Um, you know, it's a true story. It's actually a collaboration between my wife wrote one of the lyrics, and my childhood friend by the name of Dan Dillingham. Um, it's a combination of his story, my wife's story, and it all kind of folded together. Um, they're real feelings, they're real emotions. Um, I wasn't thinking started off as a joke actually because hadn't talked to my friend in years, actually decades actually, and we started talking when I first retired and started doing music, and we're just talking about the good old days. And uh, he's saying, "Yeah," he said, "Remember that bachelor party we had for you on?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Because we had it in a warehouse, in a small warehouse where we both worked at, and we worked at a audiovisual place, so we had all the lights and stage and everything else." And well, needless to say, we almost lost our jobs because of that. And the boss had gone to Dan and said, "Dan, you weren't thinking, you were just drinking." As he was trying to do that. And so we kind of took that, but then he had also made something a personal reflection about, uh, I meant no harm, but I didn't do any good. And that's what kind of threw everything together. So, he had a lot to do with it. And then the last verse, my wife wrote the last verse. I'd sent it to my producer, and he says, it's a good song, but it needs a happy ending because all mine's are doom and gloom. So I was playing back and forth, and my wife just handed me a piece of paper with the last verse. And the last verse is hers. And so again, everybody had a piece in it. It's all a piece of us. I mean, I enjoyed that song. I enjoyed writing it.
It's I think one of the things that is really striking hearing you talk about it is that authenticity is so palpable, and it's
Yeah.
such a relatable lyric
Uh,
and song. So I really
and,
appreciate that.
so and again, it was just a blast from the past that started off to be and nostalgic that turned out to be pretty personal.
And tell us about Combat Medic, because that was a very different song and steep, a respect for our services and uh,
I started off. I joined the military when I was young, right out of high school. I was I joined up as a medic. I was also a operating room technician. I also did that, but My heart was always working in the field. So the Army has a course called the Expert Field Medical Badge. It's just a very intense and very demanding course that only 10% of the medical corps has that badge. Uh, but the one that's above that, it's called the combat medic badge. That's the one you have to actually get shot at to get that one. And my instructors during that period of time most of them were Vietnam veterans, combat medics, uh, earned their bones um, in the field in combat, and it was more. And as I went through that course and was able to get my expert field medical badge, it was an honor. It was a kind of a tribute to our instructors. It was co-written with a fellow candidate that went through with me by the name of Mark Richards. He went on to become a command sergeant major. But I haven't talked to him in a long time, so I put it out there, and I got the credits there too. I said, "Look me up, brother." Um, but that's where it comes from. It just comes from a tribute to those veterans, those that trained me, and that's where it comes from.
And finally, I'm going to ask you about high top tennis shoes. I'm a tennis player. I don't think I've ever had high tops, but tell us about
Well,
that song. A lot of fun, a great
well,
great film clip as well.
yeah, high tops are, back in the 70s here in the United States, and it was a big thing. I mean, when you were a kid, right now it's Air Jordans and things like. Back in the day, with these black, ugly, high top Converse tennis shoes, Chuck Taylors as they call them. Everybody had them, and again, it goes back to my days back in junior high school at a dance, where I think I met my current wife, my wife now, at that dance. She doesn't remember it, but I do remember. I think it was like a 50 sock hop or something like that. It was kind of like a mix. But everybody wore high top tennis shoes, and that's what the song's about. It's just high school gym. Some kid with his tennis shoes think he's cool, and his girlfriend thinks he's cool too.
So and I'll have the links to those three songs
Yeah.
in the description below. So,
Thank you,
what do you
sir.
think has been your major achievement as a Indie Over 50 artist so far?
I think being noticed a little bit. You're a great example of that. Um, we started this conversation. I never thought I'd be sitting here at 5 o'clock in the morning and talking to a guy from Australia. I think that's an accomplishment. I've never thought I'd do that. Um, my biggest accomplishments also is just the validation that I get from people that love me and that like my music. Uh, that's success to me. And again, money ain't it. I know a lot of people that this is their livelihood, and I love those people. To be able to do this and make money at it, you got to have heart. You got to have a lot of soul to do it, because there isn't any money here, and unless you're fortunate. And this is an art of passion. And I guess at my age, I can afford to follow my passion. A lot of people can't. So,
I think that's a really interesting observation and something that's quite privileged for over 50. And, depending on the
hmm
stage where you're
yeah.
at with your
hmm
career and the opportunity to
hmm
free yourself up with the time to pursue. But you're 100% right. Supply and demand will tell you that there's not many rock stars, and the ability to actually make a career and a living
hmm
from music is quite an extraordinary
hmm
achievement.
yeah.
Uh,
A- and those that do make a living, and don't get me wrong, I mean, those are the ones that play 5 days a week. Those are the ones that are gigging. Those are the ones that are on the road. Those are the ones that are selling merchandise. Those are the ones that are putting out stuff. That's a full-time job. And and
oh,
and there are a lot of people that are very successful at it, but it's work.
it's
It's a
a
lot of work.
hustle and it's hard
Yeah,
work. I follow
it
some
is.
young artists that I've seen and,
It's a hustle.
that have made that transition
Mhm,
into permanent,
mhm,
making a living from music,
mhm,
and it is hard work. The vast
yeah,
majority of young musicians I know have got a full-time job or something
Big
that's
act.
paying the bills. But
Everybody,
for them to
everybody has to
rise
have a
above.
side gig. Everybody needs a side gig. My stepdaughter, she's a very talented musician. She's a flute player. She has her master's degree from DePaul University, and her goal is to be a concert flutist, and that's what she wants. But
Wow.
it's hard, and I see the struggle, and I see I see the the want in her to do it, but it's hard. It's really hard, and I mean, she's lucky she has people that support her. I mean, I believe in her, her mother believes in her, and we know someday she'll make it, but it's a hard road. It's a hard road.
Yeah, it's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of
Yeah.
hustle and the hard
Hmm.
work and the dedication and discipline
Yeah.
required to
That's it.
exceed in
Hmm.
that chosen venture.
Hmm.
So good luck to her.
Yeah.
So pursuing your art as an Indie Over 50 artist now, we've talked about your achievements and as you say, it's kind of cool. And thanks for recognizing that. But
Mhm.
the ability in Spotify to see that you've been listened to in Manila and
Mhm.
wherever else around the world is always a real joy. What do you think have been some of the major challenges you face as an Indie Over 50 artist?
Part of it is our age. Um, you know, young kids. I mean, again, I go back to looking at my looking at the algorithms and my demographics, and then the ones that Bob does to me. That's my AI. I call him Bob. I've done analysis on it. My thing is my my audience group is 50 and above. I got occasional 35s, 30, nothing 18 to 25, nothing. But from 50 to 65, right through the roof. So the hardest problem that I've had right now, and it's driving me insane, is that I don't know who I am. I don't mean to be dramatic about it, but it's I don't know where my music fits. And when I go to place my ads, I get a lot of rejections from like SubmitHub and things like that. Not one of them said the music sucked. All of them say it's the wrong fit, wrong genre. It's too slow, too thing. And that's the problem that I have right now is that I don't know where people like us, our music lies. It's not rock and roll anymore, and it's not indie modern pop. And that's a problem that I think we have at our age is trying to figure out who our audience is. I think I figured out who mine is, but it's still, I got to figure out what my music fits into. Is it blues? Is it folk? Is it rock and roll? Um, and that's the hard part.
I totally relate to that issue. I've had all the same challenges.
Mhm.
And you're right. You say, "Okay, I'm indie pop," and then they'll say, it's more indie rock," and then you'll apply for an indie rock list, and I'll say, "Oh, it's more indie pop," and or is it jazz, shoegaze, fusion?
Whatever the hell that was. I got to look that one up. I might just fit in that one. But and that's a problem that we have right now, where now let's look at the bad things about AI. Let's look at AI. You have people out there using AI to entice you to use their services. One of these places say, "Hey, look, just put in your link in there. We'll analyze your music and tell you where it fits." I, the curious person, I do that, and my music's a mutt. My music is folk, rock, country, blues, and how do you market
Americana.
some Americana? And it's not like 10%, 2%. It's like 25, 25, 25, 25. And it's like, how do you market something like that? So I go back to the same thing. AI reads binary code, zeros and ones. It doesn't feel. It doesn't feel. You need, and that's where I'm working at right now. That's where I'm at right now in my career, is trying to identify who I am, what I'm trying to play, and who am I trying to play to. That's the hard part. I'm trying to be true to myself, but I also got to realize that, hey, I got something. Let me point it towards somebody. And AI will give you a generic turnout. Say, okay, you can do this. You can't do that. The same thing with these people that do playlists. They'll go ahead, okay, you know, we'll we'll start a campaign for you and we'll throw it out there. AI will pick out the correct genre and send it to the curator. No, it doesn't. It just picks a big net, throws it out there to all the curators.
Yeah.
If you got blues, it doesn't make you have blue, neo, whatever you color blues you want in it. It's still going to throw it to the same curators.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so everybody's saying, well, AI is doing no. AI can only give the information that you put into it. If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. And right now, they're all the same curators. And I'm not bashing curators. Don't get me wrong.
Mm.
Uh, but like these people that just throw out a big net and whatever falls in there or whatever buckets close by, that's where your stuff falls into. So
One of the
I'm
things one of the things I've been observing recently is the trend to promote a playlist of your own songs as a playlist rather than a single
you know
song.
I saw that the other day on one of these feeds, and it makes sense. It makes sense if you have good music and you follow what you like, they'll follow you too. And it's better than just throwing out your one music.
The
I
one,
have
and
a
then you're in the list.
yeah, well,
Your position 79.
and that's the whole thing is that it's like me the way I listen to music. I like to go ahead and find a station, like say, uh, folk indie, and I like to just let it go.
Mhm.
Keep it in the background. I don't sit there and replay a song over and over unless I'm trying to learn it. But that's the way I foresee people listening to music. Let's just turn on the genre that we like or the special station that you've curated and listen to it. And if yours falls in there, that's cool.
Yeah.
Or one or two falls in there, that's fine. And so that makes sense to me. Let's go ahead instead of trying to package this one specialized song that, eh, maybe it's not the greatest thing in the world, but you know, but let's mix it up with some other good stuff
I
and
can't say I've
make great
tried it
songs.
yet, but I've seen a number of
Mhm.
recommendations
Yeah, I haven't
revolving around.
tried it either.
Mm.
Well, no, that's not true. That's not true. Because what happens is when I go to I use DistroKid for my distribution. Uh, and when it goes to Spotify and it goes to um, Spotify will make me a playlist. Their
Yes.
AI, they'll give me my own little playlist.
Yeah.
Now I've gone in there a couple times and checked it out. Some of it matches my genre, some of it, But again, if you could pick the right stuff and package that most of the heavy lifting's been done by Spotify, just start marketing that. I
Having
haven't
said
thought
that,
of it.
it's really, really difficult because, like many artists, you've got, you've got multiple genres. If I listen
Hmm.
to a number of your songs, they're not
Hmm.
all singer-songwriter. They're not
Right.
all blues Americana.
Hmm. Yeah.
You've got
Hmm.
variety, and so it's hard when the algorithm tries to, shoehorn
Hmm.
and that's why. But if you can find a playlist that includes some of your
Hmm.
songs, and then allied songs around that. So
One of the tools that I started to work with the last couple of weeks, I've been using SubmitHub.
mm,
SubmitHub, there you pick a curator, you target, you pitch to them directly. It's time consuming,
yeah,
but the thing is, I'm getting feedback, and it's brutal sometimes, and it hurts. Oh wow! But I'm getting feedback now. Now I can say, oh wow, they're saying this song, which I thought was this genre. No, it's more like this.
mm,
Or they're saying it's too slow. But again, I'm not taking it from one curator. I'm taking it from four or five. And it's fairly inexpensive. You spend $2,
yeah.
$3 for a well-placed critique. And then once you do that, you kind of gather that information and you make your own decision. Where do I actually fit? And I've learned that my song does not fit in certain genres that I've been trying to shove it down there. It doesn't fit.
Yeah.
So that's come through constructive criticism and having a thick skin too. It's kind of like, my I've come to the conclusion that my music's good. It's not great, but it's gonna get great. It is, but again, knowing that I have room to improve, keeps me going.
Of
I
course.
can't be complacent. I just can't.
Now, tell me about your production, and it's a bit of a leading question because I know you're involved with an Australian who helps you with some of your recordings. So,
Luke, Luke. Well, when I first retired, I met a gentleman by the name of Michael Fogarty. He's an American, but has lived in Japan most of his life. That's where he lives, in Japan. He's probably one of the most talented musicians I've ever met. And he's a piano player, but he does all my productions. He's outside of being my producer, he's turned into become a good friend, a very good friend.
lovely.
And in the last couple of songs that I that were produced, he knew Luke from way back when they worked in the past. So Luke's been on my two of my last singles, and his guitar just screams. I just love his guitar. Just love
Yeah,
his
he's a
guitar.
beautiful player. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
nice
And
connection with
and
Australia
and,
as
and,
well.
and he's an Australian. He's an Aussie like India.
Look, in terms of, we've talked about some of the challenges that indie over 50 artists face. What tips or recommendations would you make to any indie over 50 artists who are watching this interview with you now?
Don't give up on your dreams, man. Don't give up. You know, it's all we got left, man. That just put all the crap that you had in your past that's kept you from saying I can't do this. Wrap it up in a nice little box and shove it in a hole and put that behind you. Because you can't do anything about that. What you can do is what you got right now, and what you got going forward. Uh, my biggest problem right now is getting old. My hands hurt. My body hurts. I can't play the guitar the way I used to, hours and hours. So I need to make the best of it. But move forward. The day you stop to aspire is the day you expire. So somebody told me that a long time ago.
That's a great message, I think, as a recommendation and advice as well.
I'm moved by songwriters. Songwriters is to me is the cool people. I'm sorry to say that, but there's people that are great performers. There are some people that are great songwriters, and very few are great songwriters and performers. And those are your John Lennons and your McCartneys and things like that, or Sting.
Yeah.
But I'm opening my eyes to other music. I've been one of the downfalls, and one of the things that I feel that's really helped that this kept me back was never playing with other people, never being in a band. I've just recently started to collaborate started with my producer. Before that, I'd never collaborated. And when you don't collaborate, you end up in a shell, and you're limited to what you expose yourself to. And I still listen to my old '70s, my music. So I don't necessarily listen to current music, and I really should. And I've recently started to do that, and that's helped me also try to place my music. I finally went to Spotify and said, play me some indie folk music. Now I really understand what indie folk music is. Now I know what indie music is, period, or whatever other genre that I've been trying to put my music into. I've listened to it and I said, that's not a fit. But that's where I'm getting at now, to start to open my own ears to other music, and something that I really haven't done. Chasing the same old melody. And I'm done with that. I need to learn some new stuff.
I love that. Another great message for indie over 50 artists, being open to new music, listening
Yeah.
to emerging music, listening to new styles, and collaboration. So that's an interesting recommendations there as well.
Collaboration's a big thing. I met a gentleman who did my last video for Sinners Like Me. It's a great video. I mean, and he did it out of the goodness of his heart, and did it gratis, free. And but again, it's a person that I met online.
Mm.
He's a couple of years older than I am. He had nothing else to do. He said, "Let me do it," and he's a producer too. He produces his own stuff, and it's great when somebody says, "Hey, let me do that for you. I'll do that for you." And
Yeah,
I've
that's
I've
really
done
nice.
that with a couple of friends too. I've played some backup guitar on a couple of things for them, but you learn, and you get to meet interesting people like yourself. So,
It's very, very nice of you, Juan Carlos. So,
yeah.
look, with that, I want to say thank you so much for
Mm,
your time. One of the things I always say on Indie Over 50 is your song is not written yet. And I think you really demonstrate that with your ambition, your
mhm.
passion for moving forward. And I think that's hopefully really, really helpful and inspiring for any Indie Over 50 artists who are viewing this interview today. So thank you very much, Juan.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate the time.
'Cause I wasn't thinking, I was just a drinking.